What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, this is a first in show history on multiple levels. One, we're recording this at midnight your time, well past your bedtime. And then two, this is the first time I have not watched the games that are on the slate for us to talk about tonight. The first time. So unlike usual, I'm going to have to pass you the rock a lot tonight.
That's fine, man. You had other duties tonight, obviously, with the Nuggets playing. But I had the luxury of being able to sit around and watch a couple of games in their entirety today because it's a Sunday, and I didn't have much else going on. So that's rare for me to watch games like pretty much in real time. I don't get that opportunity very often. And there was some really interesting games in the league tonight. Important ones, too. Very important games with what's going on with some of these races and these standings.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And people don't realize that, I'm the exact same way. Because I cover the Denver Nuggets as one of my many jobs, I usually am watching all these games like kind of quickly. I can get through a game in about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, depending on how the game goes. And I'm always watching them after the fact. So I get it, man. And I prefer it. What's funny is I prefer to watch it that way. I guess you do too, I'm guessing, because you can slow it down. You can go back. You don't have to listen. You can listen or you don't have to. You can take notes. So I'm guessing you prefer it that way too.
Yeah. It's definitely better to cut through. Listen, when you do this for a living and there's so many games you have to keep track of, it's the more stuff you can cut out, the better. Sometimes, there are certain things when you watch the condensed version, like on League Pass, you're only catching sometimes like the second half of possessions. And there are things that happen sometimes up the floor or whatever it may be that you want to talk about. So tonight was good, man, because I got to dive into these games. And the Houston Golden State game particularly was really, really eye-opening in a lot of ways and alarming, I think, a little bit if you're the Golden State Warriors.
For sure. We're going to start with that game, but later in the show, we're going to get to Lakers Thunder, Pacers Nuggets. Brunson made his return. Kings beat the Cavs. We might even talk a little Cooper Flagg because that game was so wild. I know you were watching that one, but we're going to start. Our biggest deep dive will be on this Rockets win over the Warriors, 106-96. So I missed this one. I see the stat sheet, though, and I see Steph Curry, 3 points, 1 of 8 from 3. What stood out to you about this one, and what the heck happened to Steph?
All right, we'll start there. So he was averaging 42 points a game in his last 3. So he's coming in red hot. Houston is a very physical defensive team. They clearly, made him priority number 1, as most teams try to. Very few teams can pull off what Houston did in this game. Now, I saw Steph against the Kings a few weeks ago, and I called out the Kings hard because they literally went to like this junk defense, sort of like a box and one face guard on the weak side of the floor. And Steph just said, you know what, go ahead. Well, I'm just going to let you guys come over here and stare at me. And we're going to play 4-on-3 on the weak side and pick you apart. And they did. That's not what this was. Now they blitzed them on ball screens. Okay. They blitzed them on ball screens, but the stuff off the ball was just good old fashioned hold and lock on everything he was trying to do to come get the ball. Like you see the numbers, 1 for 10. I mean, I'm telling you, Adam, 5 or 6 of those shots were just complete forces by Steph Curry from crazy distances just to get a shot off because he couldn't get the ball. He couldn't catch the ball. They had Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, even guys like Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet really bothered him. Tari Eason got turns on him. Jabari Smith would switch out and use his length against them. I've never seen Steph Curry defended better in any game than he just was in that game tonight. And it was so frustrating for him. You could see it. He was wearing it. And then he started to drive later in the game. He kicked the ball out of bounds, like on a drive. And he was
Man,
so off his rhythm and off his game. It was really just glaring. Like watching this, like how in the world can a player this great be taken out of a game to this extent? But that's really what it was. Good old fashioned holding him, chasing him over every screen, getting a lot of help on ball screens and forcing him to give it up. But he could not shake anybody off the dribble, and he couldn't catch the ball off of any of their down screen action or dribble handoff action. He literally couldn't get his hands on the ball.
wow.
And at one point, he was kind of letting his teammates do it, and they were playing, and it was a close game, middle of the third quarter. Ultimately, they didn't have enough guys really step up offensively to carry the load on a night when he does that. So I was just really alarmed at what they just did to Steph Curry. Honestly, there's no other word for it.
Yeah. And he's the best. What you're talking about, off ball, chasing guys around, team system, because you got pin downs and you got cross screens and everything else. He's the hardest guy, I think, of all time to cover in the specific way you're talking about. So for the fact that they were able to pull it off, I'm guessing it's not just one guy. I mean, who drew the primary assignment? But I'm guessing this was just a team being locked in and understanding the defensive rotations, switches, and everything else that has to happen.
Everybody wants to play it this way. Very few teams have the discipline or the communication to do it. And it was like even Ime Udoka was like just like his intensity on the sideline about Curry. In fact, I don't know if you caught this yet, but you'll see it tomorrow when you see the highlights and you read about this. Ime Udoka was barking at Curry leaving the court for halftime.
What?
So to where I don't know what he said.
Wait.
It didn't come out yet. I don't know if they asked Steph after the game what he said to him, or if they asked Udoka, but it was a messy end of the half. Draymond Green and Şengün got into it. They had to be separated. And then Draymond gets hit right at the start of the third quarter with a flagrant foul when he drills Şengün in the face with his elbow as he's going up to shoot at the rim, knocks him out. I thought Şengün definitely broke his nose. He laid on the ground, pounding his foot on the ground, covering his face. I didn't know what I was going to see when he took his hands off his face, but that was in the third quarter. But at halftime, Ime Udoka's walking off the court, and he goes right by Steph Curry and just says a bunch of stuff to him. And Curry starts talking back. Ime Udoka turns. He's talking. He's backpedaling into the tunnel, and he's still barking at Steph Curry. So, he had his whole team up on their toes to such an extent about Curry, and it worked. That's the thing. Like, Steph Curry usually has a response when you try to talk to him or get physical with him, or you shut him down for a while and you start chirping to him. He's usually going to have a moment where he goes off for 8 to 10 minutes. It never happened, man. You see it, one field goal in the game. And it was really I just credit Houston's defense. They've got the personnel to do it. They had the commitment to do it. And they went into Golden State's home floor, man. And they absolutely sent a message to them of how it would be if they saw them again in a playoff series, because they manhandled them. They really did. And offensive glass, they were all over that. It was such a physical game. And I don't think Golden State had the answer for it. If the game is going to be played that way, officiated that way, Houston has a major advantage over them.
Well, and that very well could be our matchup. I mean, obviously Houston is solid right now. In fact, have they clinched the 2 seed? They're up 3 games on the Lakers. They might have clinched it with this win.
It's pretty much over now. I mean, it's not
effectively
official,
over,
but it's pretty much over. Yeah.
And so Golden State now obviously can go anywhere from 4, really 3, but probably 4 through 8. So that very well could be your 7-2 matchup, which it's nice when you get something like this a week before the playoffs begin. You get something that says, hey, that matchup might not go the way you think. This Houston has something for them that they clearly believe in. One of the things I know they have is that double big lineup. And this is something we talked about a couple weeks ago, but going with both Şengün and Steven Adams on the court at the same time, I have a note in here that they played that lineup together tonight. And of course, Golden State's extra tiny. So it's kind of an interesting style decision. What did you see from that?
They had 22 rebounds combined. And it was a major factor in the game, and not just their offensive rebounding, their athletes running in and getting free runs at the rim when they would take a 3-point shot was a big factor in this game. Um, if you watched it like possession after possession, that's the thing that stood out, is just like all across the court, Golden State just looked too small. And if you remember a couple years ago, that was their big problem. Like, you saw that when they played the Lakers in the playoffs, they were suffocated by the Lakers defensively. You didn't even see the Warriors on the court. They were so much smaller than what the Lakers are putting out there defensively. Kind of looked that way again tonight. And it's not like Jalen Green and Van Vliet are super big guys. But when you start going beyond that, Thompson, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith is 6'10". Dylan Brooks is like 6'6", but you know how he plays. He's going to maul you. And then you got these two bigs on the backside. And Golden State just looked incapable of operating against them. The passing lanes weren't there. They had 20 turnovers. A lot of that was just there weren't clear passing lanes. If they didn't get a great game out of Buddy Hield was the best player on the floor for the Warriors. If they don't get that and he has like a normal night for him, this is a 20-plus point win. I mean, and I want to get into Jimmy Butler in a second, because I was kind of like really disappointed in Jimmy Butler's response to the way Curry was being guarded tonight. Shocked, really. But to me, to answer your question, yes, man, it was a factor. It was two teams on completely different spectrums in terms of size, strength, and just physicality. That's what this game really came down to. And it reminded you more of what it will look like in a playoff series. Because in the playoffs, it's going to be officiated like it was tonight. I thought Curry was getting held a lot off the ball, more than usual, and he couldn't shake free. He'll hit you in the chest and he'll get a running start and get away from those guys. He couldn't get away from them, Adam. I actually got to the point you started to feel for him, like the frustration level. You started to feel for Curry. Like, man, this guy can't get it any daylight whatsoever. And it was just because of Houston, man. Threw a lot of athletes out there, a lot of size out there. Golden State did not have any sort of personnel to match up with that.
Do you have anything else on this game? Because I want to ask a Rockets question for you, but is there anything specific? I guess you said you wanted to get into Jimmy Butler. So, yeah, the Jimmy Butler piece of this, I know you've been frustrated.
Well, I said it to you last week, if you remember. I said,
I do.
There's games where, like, okay, their record is what it is since they got him. And this is the first game tonight they lost with this starting lineup. They were 13-0 with this starting lineup particularly. And the record's 21-6, I think, since they got Butler, going 21-5 going into tonight. The record is what it is. The metrics say what they say. Their defense is better. The Curry's better with Butler. But yet, I told you last week, it's weird because I watched him play a game last week where he did nothing remarkable in the game at all, at any point. And we're going, but somehow he has this effect. Tonight was a night he played the same way. All that, dribble hard into the lane, jump stop, pass out to the opposite side. Well, Curry is on the opposite side and he's being hounded. So tonight was a night, if you're Jimmy Butler and Curry is being guarded the way that he is and he's not getting any clean looks, this is a night with Jimmy Butler, man, you got to take 15, 18, 20 shots. Like, the space is there and you're an athlete and you're physical. Look at his line. This is so deceiving. He didn't have 13 points because he had 4 points that meant absolutely nothing in the last 3 minutes of the game. Two layups that were given to him. He really had 9 points in this game. He got to the line only 4 times. Jimmy Butler needs to use Houston's aggressiveness against them. Tonight was a night he should have shot 14 free throws. The game was physical. It plays to Jimmy Butler's strength. Steph Curry is completely taken out of the game. Where are you? He took 7 shots. Like I said, 2 of them were late layups that basically Houston kind of conceded. So he really only took 5 shots in the course of the game. And he had 9 points that mattered. And so I was disappointed. Like that, stuff, hey, I'm unselfish, I make the right play. That's great. That's great, man, most of the time. That's not great in a game like this.
Right.
They needed you to go at those guys, put your shoulder in their chest, and get to the line to give your team a chance. He was a complete non-factor. On a night when Curry was taken out of the game by a defense, that just can't happen. He has to read the room better than that. They needed more out of him tonight. He can't just play that super unselfish, efficient game. No, not every night, man. Not tonight. They needed more to win this game. They needed Jimmy Butler to do a hell of a lot more than he wanted to do tonight. And that's why it was disappointing to me.
Just 7 field goals is a little crazy. I mean, it's just not taking shots. You look at the Warriors, 5 shots from Draymond Green, 7 from Jimmy Butler, 7 from Moses Moody. That's your starting lineup. Of course, Draymond doesn't always take them, but to your point, in a night when Steph Curry is struggling, where are your shots coming from? Well, they're coming off the bench, Buddy Hield and Gary Payton. So that is an interesting one from Jimmy Butler. But let's move to the Rockets side, because right before we went live, it sounded like you were about ready to say you are ready to believe in the Rockets. And they're a 2 seed. What does it mean to believe? I think a lot of people say, hey, they could win in the first round. But Denver, Minnesota, the Lakers, the Warriors, if they get them in a second round, most people, I think, would take those teams over Houston. But it sounds like tonight went a long way for you buying in.
Well, first of all, yes, it is, because I'm looking at these other teams, and I've said it before, and at different times, each of these other teams has started to make their case to me and convince me. Hey, maybe it's them. At one point, I thought for sure it was Denver. I don't necessarily think that anymore. And they got issues with Jamal Murray being out that we can get into, or at least touch on at some point.
Yeah.
I've never really totally bought into Memphis being that team. Minnesota has not really. They hit a stretch, the second half of the year where their defense picked up to such an extent you think, okay, maybe it's them. At different times, it looks like it could have been the Lakers, and they had a really impressive win today. But the Rockets, to me, their recovery after that 6-game losing streak and what they have done over the last month plus, including what they just did with that win over Oklahoma City and what they just did at Golden State, I'm looking at them and saying, okay, well, what's their first round matchup going to be? It's going to be a 2-7. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be Golden State. It could be the Clippers. Hell, it could be the Nuggets. I mean, right? They could probably fall down to that spot. They're basically all tied in the long haul. Yeah. Yep. I don't know who it's going to be, but I do know this. I have some problems with their late game offense if they're in a tight game. I do with Houston, but I'm telling you, man, their toughness and their willingness to be ready for the fight is really impressive to me. And their defense is enough to completely derail what you want to do offensively in a series. And the longer the series goes, the harder it's going to be when they know everything you're trying to do at every game they're preparing. They're exceptionally well coached, and they've got a bunch of dudes that want to fight you. That, to me, adds up to a team that could surprise some people in a couple of rounds. I'm not predicting that right now. I'm just saying they're starting to make me think that I dismissed them at one point. That's not going to be Houston at the end of the day against Oklahoma City in the conference finals. I'm not sure about that anymore.
Yeah. It's an exciting story, man. And what a big win. This was when Golden State was riding high. They just came off of a big back-to-back wins, 2 games in a row on a back-to-back. And now they go into Houston. This one was almost like, hey, just cement it here with that one, and they can't get it done. Houston puts them away. So Houston, 2 seed, earned it, 8-2 in their last 10, 3-game winning streak, and perhaps a force to be reckoned with. Any final thoughts on this one before we take a break?
Just a couple of things. One, Şengün, he caught that elbow by Draymond. It probably messed him up a little bit for the night. He still had pretty good numbers. They had no answer for him. And it wasn't just like he scored at will in the paint. He what he did to suck them in defensively, their whole game was built around Şengün getting the ball. And Golden State doesn't have an answer for that. Even Draymond, as great as he is, Şengün doesn't rush anything. Draymond wants to get into you and talk to you against bigger guys, and you'll try to go too fast, and you'll end up missing a shot, or he'll break the ball off your leg, or whatever it may be. Şengün is just like backing you down, absorbing all that contact from Draymond. He controlled the game. They couldn't do anything to get him off of his spot or off balance. That was something I just noted about Golden State and like playing smaller, and it works against a lot of teams. It does not work against Şengün. Like, he basically controlled the game. So very impressed by him there. The last point on this is Brandin Podziemski is a guy that's really surprising me here with like this scoring spree that he's been on. And it is critical for Golden State. I just wanted to note that like what he's been doing here over the last like week plus is like, wow, okay, is this guy going to keep getting 15, 20 a night or have more than that? Like he's shooting the ball so confidently right now. It's been interesting to watch Steve Kerr go to different types of lineups because of his faith in Podziemski. So that's just one other note to see. It's very important to me to watch him going forward. And what is he capable of really in the postseason? Because what he's been doing lately has been unbelievable relative to what his career norm has been to this point for scoring. He is lighting it up. Had another big game tonight offensively. So that's just something to keep an eye on for Golden State. I took note of.
Well, let's take our first break because there's more games to get to. But while we take the break, hop in the chat right now and let us know, are you buying the Houston Rockets after tonight's win or really on the year? Are they a team that you think is going to be a force in this playoffs and could make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals? We'll do that on the other side. First, let me tell you about Monarch Money. Finances can be messy. It's tax season. Everybody, it's about tax season. This is when you're going through all of your expenses, trying to figure out what you've been doing lately with your money. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Don't just manage your money. Start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. This is so true when you start going through. This happens to me every single year when I'm going through all the different things I spent money on this year, most of them professional expenses. Something falls through the cracks where you're like, oh, I didn't realize I still had that subscription going, or I double charged myself here. And then likewise with your investments, you have them spread out in a bunch of different places. Are you tracking it? Are you tracking what you're spending just when you're out and about? Maybe you're spending a little bit more than you realize. This is a great finance tool that people actually love. You can join over 1 million households. It was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025 and the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use all MBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. You can also get the link in the description of the show. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. with the code ALLNBA. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. And they probably have a style in your team's favorite colors. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays has given out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, back here, segment 2. Make sure you hit that like button. Doing this a little bit later than typical. And look, we got a bunch of people tuned in. Maybe we're going to have to start staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock Eastern time, every single show. Legs, what do you think about that?
Yeah, coming from the mountain time zone, that's easy to say.
That's easy for me to say. The Lakers absolutely smacked the Thunder tonight, 126-99. It all but locked up their 3 seed now. They are 2 games ahead of all the big, giant, messy middle in the Western Conference. All the teams with 32 losses, they're at 30. So they're in a good spot. They do have 4 games left, so it's not completely over. But what happened in this one that you took note of?
Well, the biggest storyline of the game is the way the Lakers shot the ball from the 3. Like that's going to be the nights that they're able, to light it up from the 3. They can be almost unbeatable if they're going to shoot like some of these teams that we know can go off, like Boston, Cleveland, these teams that can just light you up from out there at nights. Sometimes Oklahoma City can be like that. The Lakers made 22 threes in this game. That was the storyline, and they were a plus 30 from the 3-point line over OKC, and they win the game by 27 points. I was shocked by 2 different things, and it really involves what the Lakers were able to do on both ends of the floor. Number one, I couldn't believe how difficult it was for Oklahoma City to beat guys off the dribble. Normally, and I've seen them so much this year, like they have so many guys that are so quick with the ball when it's a swing pass and they go, or obviously Shai, what he can do to you with a live dribble, Jalen Williams too. They couldn't get by anybody one-on-one in this game. Like they just couldn't beat them definitively to now go force a reaction and make a play. Like whoever was on their hip stayed on their hip. And the Lakers, we've talked about this a lot. They've got a lot of length and size with different guys that can guard these dudes, right? LeBron, Dorian Finney-Smith, Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, like all of those guys have pretty good size. and they could do a really good job of sliding, staying with you. Oklahoma City's usually not bothered by that kind of stuff. They were in this game. For whatever reason, man, there was just no gaps to be had. And to such an extent, Adam, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not take a free throw in this game.
What?
Now, you're talking about a dude that, I mean, it's pretty commonplace he gets there 10 times a night. I think he's done that like 38 times or something this year. He didn't take a free throw in the game. And so the Lakers were not only like sliding with him and bothering him. He had a decent shooting night, like right just under 50%. They weren't fouling him. And a bit more importantly, they weren't overcommitting or overreacting to penetration because guys weren't getting beat. So as a result, the 3-point kick out wasn't really there. So that's the first thing that stood out to me. I just thought, man, Oklahoma City is bottled up by this team. So that's we'll get to talk about the defense in a second. Let's just get your thoughts on that first of all.
Well, my thoughts on it are 20 assists for Oklahoma City. Obviously, if you're not making shots, the assists are going to be low, but that also points to what you were talking about. But my thing, Legs, is as good as Oklahoma City is, I think that they struggle. The one weakness they have is they struggle against big wings, and the Lakers have two of the absolute best of them. Because LeBron and Luka, I think, are a little bit more unbothered. We talked about this the last time they matched up, but they're a little bit less bothered by the Lou Dorts of the world, the Shays, all of the different defenders they have. And again, I did not see this game, but I do see that Luka Doncic had a very comfortable 30-point night, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. And so when I see the outcome of this, yes, the hot shooting obviously is the story, but that part of it still is something that I watch for when I look at that matchup. Lakers versus them, I don't know if they can guard their key guys.
And look, I said this about Luka last year when they were getting ready to play in that Minnesota series. I said, he's not bothered by length and quickness at all. He's not. He doesn't care because he's using his strength against you, and he's so patient and so slow that he doesn't care about how quick you are. He's going to go at his pace. And he's going to beat you up physically. Dort is the one guy Luka's acknowledged as being like the toughest guy to guard him. And it's because of the brute strength. He can hold his ground, and Luka really needs you to give ground to operate because he's not blowing by you. He needs you to back up when he hits you so he can go to the lean back and the up fake and get the fouls and all that. Here's the problem. Lou Dort can't guard both of those guys. And Oklahoma City's got a lot of really good individual defenders, but against those two guys, LeBron and Luka, it requires a very specific type of guy with a lot of strength. And you can't put him in both places. So I think to your point, Luka wasn't affected at all. LeBron had I think I would call it a fairly quiet game. He didn't really go off, he didn't get to the line either, by the way, which is one of the reasons his numbers weren't better because he didn't shoot any free throws either. The game was really about Luka offensively and the way that they shot the ball around him because he was not really affected by anything Oklahoma City was doing to him with their pressure. And that is what they live on. They need that to happen to affect the ball handlers, affect the entry passes because they're so quick and they're all over it. Luka was just kind of doing his thing, getting to his spot. And as a result, Oklahoma City was committing, make extra guys. Luka now spreading it around. All the 3-point shooters got comfortable. And the Lakers, I don't know that I've seen them play many games this year, if any, that were more impressive than what I saw out of them today on both ends of the floor.
Wow, that's a big one. Any final thoughts on this game before we move on?
It's interesting now. You look at Oklahoma City, okay? So one of the things I did think about, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the Lakers did. I just gave them all the praise in the world. So you take this, for what it's worth. I'm looking at Oklahoma City a little bit. And I'm saying to myself, like, they just lost back-to-back games. It's only it's only happened a couple times all year. Like that's the most they've lost all year. They've never lost 3 in a row, never more than 2. And both of these games, I'm watching them and I'm just kind of like, did they peak a little bit too early? Like they've had such a stranglehold on the Western Conference. And I know they were in this battle with Cleveland for a while for the best overall record. I think that's pretty much over now, right? They're going to get that. So I just wonder, where are they right now in terms of their edge? I think the one thing they were still going for was 70 wins. I think they wanted to get it. Well, their loss in their last game took that out of the equation. So the most they could have gotten was 69. Now it's going to be 68. There was something missing about them the last 2 games. It just was. They had less emotion. than they normally
Yeah.
play with. And I'm just wondering, is that just a byproduct of this incredible year they've had, lapping the field in West, nobody close to them, finally getting to the point where, I mean, I say they wrapped it up, but they had a 3-game lead. I'm not sure what it is right now, but they now have to work a little bit maybe here at the end to secure that overall home record. But these last two performances were not what I've watched all year out of them. The Lakers, what did they get in the first half? The Lakers had 78 points in the first half, Adam.
Well, I'm looking though at
you're
their
talking
shooting though. I
about
think
the
they were
number
over
one-
80%.
Not only the number one defensive team in the league, they're the number one defensive team by a mile over everybody else when you look at the metrics. The Lakers had 78 points in the first half against this team. So I'm looking at that and just saying, man, there's something was a little bit off for the Thunder the last couple of games. And now you've got 4 games to kind of go get that right before you start this playoff run.
I'm not going to be worried about them. I mean, this game,
No,
I do think this matchup.
I'm not either.
But I just think it's end of year. What do they have to play for? You can't fake the intensity, the urgency. It is funny now that they are within 2 games of the Cleveland Cavaliers, so it is possible that they, it's the home court throughout the entire run, all the way through the finals, is not locked up. It was more or less locked up, but now they have to turn it back on. So maybe we see another game out of them, and they play the Lakers again here in a couple of nights. So, an opportunity that's. I agree with you in this. I think it's a little important for OKC. Not that important. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 1, but it's a little important because I do think you want to sort of prove that you could beat that team in case you match up with them in a Western Conference Finals, which feels increasingly possible as this season kind of unfolds. The next one I got for you is the game I watched, the one game I can talk about, which is the Pacers and the Nuggets, 125-120. Pacers get the win on the road over Denver. Denver couldn't stop anybody in this game. Jokic goes for 41, 15, and 13 in a loss. He's had nothing but monster stat lines this week in losses. But the news, Jamal Murray's missed 5 straight games and then was day-to-day. In the pregame presser, Michael Malone said that Jamal Murray has gone from day-to-day to not day-to-day and that they hope to have him back in the playoffs. The Nuggets have been reeling. Of the teams that are in that upper echelon of really the entire NBA, they have fallen apart at the finish line here physically and emotionally. This to me looked like a team that had maybe quit. But the big news is Jamal Murray. If he is not healthy, even if he missed all this time and comes back for the playoffs, you go right from unhealthy to in the playoffs. That's scary. But now, Legs, he might not even be ready by then. What do you make of that story?
Man, what a turn it took for him because he was having such a great year. And now, it's been a while since we've seen him right. It's impossible really for Denver to, make up for that, what he gives them. Because when you look at their roster, they just don't have a lot of guys that can handle the ball and create offense outside of Jokic. And so when you take Jamal Murray off the floor, man, they're just a completely different team. And this is kind of news to me. You told me this before we came on. I didn't realize that this news was coming out. Maybe none of you did. Maybe this is a surprise to everybody in Denver because I didn't think this was coming. But so are you saying that they're saying he might not be available again in the regular season, or are you saying he might not even be ready to go in the playoffs?
Michael Malone said this injury is a weird one because we thought he was day to day, but it's kind of something's come up with it. And so now the hope is he'll be ready by the playoffs. That was his exact quote. So to me, or more or less his quote. So to me, it sounds like, yes, it was certainly in doubt for the regular season. And then you take a week off. And I think what Malone is saying is this is an injury that we thought would have rehabbed by now. So I can't tell you it'll be rehabbed in a week, 2 weeks, because we don't know. We thought it would already be done.
It sounds, yeah. So it sounds like when you get, and I played with different guys at various times. I never really went through it, but where this stuff sort of lingers on, you don't really know when a guy's going to come back because it seems like all of the time frames that are put out there with that specific type of injury, they've already passed that. So now you're like, well, then what's going on? So that's obviously terrible news for them. Now, look, if he just misses the rest of the regular season and he is able to come back at the start of the playoffs, and he feels good. I think Jamal Murray, getting a little bit of rest here at the end of the year is not the worst thing in the world, assuming he feels healthy. Now, if he comes back and he's limited or doesn't come back at all, man, that could be death knell for Denver. They could be gone in the first round.
Yeah, there's no question. Here's Jokic's last 3 games: 61, 10, and 10, 62% shooting, 33, 12, and 9, 76.5% shooting. And then tonight, 41, 15, and 13, 18 of 33 shooting. Almost all of his misses were three-pointers. He's never been better, Legs. At least on the offensive end, he's carrying an insane load. He's literally never been better than what he is right now. And it doesn't make a difference for this Nuggets team that is falling apart at the seams.
It is kind of crazy to think that he's won 3 MVPs in 4 years and he's having the best season of his career, number one, and might not win the MVP. Despite that,
right.
He's having a historically great year by all standards, whoever's played in this league, with what he's doing statistically. And it might not matter with regard to winning the MVP. But here's the bigger thing. It can't even be enough to win games on certain nights.
Nope.
With stat lines like that.
At home.
That's what's really incredible about their team right now. He can have nights like that and they can lose a game when he's that dominant. That's pretty incredible. What was your takeaway since you got to see him? And I didn't get a chance to see this game because I was watching the other games. What was your impression of Indiana?
Played well, played fast. Denver made it easy for them. They're a team that likes to, one, get out in transition, and two, play that 5-out style, really spread you out and get open looks. And they got whatever they wanted. Shot the ball well, especially in the second half. So I was impressed by them, but I was just more unimpressed with Denver because Denver's just had no ability to get stops. Aaron Gordon, this is another thing that's scary. Aaron Gordon's been dealing with a calf strain. He had several possessions tonight where he'd catch the ball in the paint and not go up with it. Which Aaron Gordon, he goes up with everything in the paint. That's what he does. If he has the ball in the paint, he's going to try to draw a foul or dunk on you, and he's successful. He didn't even try it in transition. So Pacers did what they were supposed to do. They looked exactly like the team, but it also looked, I know this was a close one. It kind of felt like it came easy to the Pacers.
Here's one thing that's interesting to note about Indiana. Okay, they started the year 9-14, and it was strange because they went to the conference finals a year ago and everybody, had maybe even overinflated expectations because the Eastern Conference was banged up, and they were able to make that run and give them credit. They took advantage of who wasn't there. Knicks were decimated by injuries. Bucks were shorthanded when they played them, and they go to the conference finals. They start off the year 9-14 after doing that. And there was all kinds of rumblings about what's going on in Indiana. And, they're 30, they are 38-17 since then. And they've basically locked up the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they're now going to host a first round series, most likely against Milwaukee, unless somehow Detroit can still flip flop that 5-6. But I still think that their style of play is tough to defend. I think that when they're playing to their strength and they are getting out and they're moving the ball quickly up the floor, to your point, with that kind of pace, I think they can be very difficult to have enough defensive effort and commitment to guard. And I think that their numbers bear that out, man. That's a hell of a run, 37-18. That's a great record over a really long period of time. When you're 5 games under 500 and you're like basically getting close to Christmas and you go and now you turn that into a 4 seed, very impressive what Indiana's been able to do over the last few months.
One guy that deserves a shout out is Obi Toppin. He had 22 points in this game and was a difference maker in the middle portion of it. He was really good. He's been good this year. I like Obi Toppin a lot, and he was really good. He was the outlier role player in that one. Jalen Brunson returned for the New York Knicks tonight, which is exciting. We knew he was going to try to come back before the playoffs. They got a win at home over the Suns, 112-98. What do you make of that? Jalen Brunson, he goes for 15 points in 30. I love it. Comes back from injury, 34 minutes.
Yeah, he played 34 minutes. He did not I'm pulling up box. I was looking at some of these highlights earlier and just looking at his box score. So he only took 9 shots, 1 of 4 from the 3, got to the line 10 times. Basically all of his offense came from the line. And I didn't see the game, so hopefully I'll catch his next one because I don't know. That's, 9 shots in 34 minutes is really low for him. So I'm curious to know what that was. Was that just because, he just got back and he's sort of feeling things out? Was it because he's in some way or any way limited at all with his quickness? So I'm not sure exactly how that played out. But here's what's more interesting to me about the Knicks, because this OG Anunoby, what he's doing right now offensively and what he's been doing since Brunson went out is pretty incredible, man. This dude now is like pretty much dialing up 30-point games on the regular. And he was a 3-and-D type of player in Toronto The Knicks thought he could be a little bit more than that. They didn't think OG Anunoby could ever go on a scoring binge like he's on right now. It's been interesting to see him without Brunson. Now Brunson's back. So let's watch the dynamic now with his numbers coming down as of course, Brunson starts to get more usage rate up. Really interested in what Brunson looks like here over these last few games before they go into the playoffs because he's a massive X factor in what goes down in the East.
He led them, by the way, OG Anunoby in field goal attempts tonight, 13 of 17. And to your point, sometimes that's what unlocks a great player is just opportunity. Everybody's hurt. I got to step up now. Somebody has to lead it. And then they're more competent at it than you think. And now everybody's back and healthy. And OG Anunoby's leading them in field goal attempts, at least on this night. So that is an interesting storyline. That'll be interesting to follow. Couple more games here. The Kings beat the Cavs 120-113. Zach LaVine had 37 points on 7-11 from three. They're staying alive here in the play-in, especially with the Suns loss, Kings win. The Suns are almost eliminated now from the play-in, which is crazy to think. But what do you make of just this outcome, Kings beating the Cavs?
Yeah, and the Suns lose again. And, monster night for Devin Booker. It's not enough without KD. Yeah, this is the Kings. Like they've been a little bit of a surprise here the way they've played lately. Now, look, I was joking about the Suns a while back when I said it's like they're walking down the street behind somebody and that person is walking backwards and they still can't catch up to them. Like that's what the Suns were like at one point. Nobody wanted that last spot. And now it looks like the Kings most likely are going to get that. And look, they got a lot of playoff experience on that team. So that'd be interesting to watch them in the play-in situation when you're talking about a one and done in that first game, potentially if it's a 9-10 with all that playoff experience.
And then the last thing I have for you here, Cooper Flagg and the Duke Blue Devils blew what was maybe the biggest choke job I have ever seen. They were up. I don't even know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Of 6-7 points. It was like a minute to go. And I just thought the game was over and there was a collapse. And I know this is an NBA pod, but I know you watch hoops and you like hoops at all level. And that game to me was, first of all, it was a really good game. I like the way Houston plays. They have some dogs over there. But just what did you make of the collapse from Duke and maybe even a note on Cooper Flagg now that we watched a couple more high stakes games with him?
All right. So here we go. 59-45 with 8 minutes left.
Wow, that's really bad.
So first of all, think about this. Now you got a 14-point lead. You're Duke. You've got Cooper Flagg, a player of the year, and you've already held a team to 45 points at that point, right? With 8 minutes to go. So even if Duke doesn't score the rest of the game, you're like, well, how is Houston going to be able to muster 14 points in the last 8 minutes when they were held to 45 to that point? Just do the math on it. So all it comes down to is like take care of the ball and make free throws. They couldn't do either one of those things.
Man,
the turnovers in the backcourt, the pressure, Houston picked them up full court like an AAU game, and Duke crumbled. Multiple turnovers in that situation. But there's a couple things that were interesting to me, and it wasn't talked much about after the game, which I found odd. There was a 6-point possession for the Houston Cougars. I'm sorry, 7-point possession. When right at the time I just mentioned to cut that lead in half on one trip. So how does that happen? 3-pointer goes in, and while the ball's in the air, a Duke player throws an elbow, basically hits a Houston player in the face, decks them. They call a flagrant foul. So you get the 3-pointer goes in, 2 free throws that they converted either, I think, one of 2. Then they get the ball, and they scored on that. So just like that, to me, that set the stage to give Houston enough belief that they could still win this game. But then at the end of the day, it comes down to the free throws. Proctor for Duke had an awful game, and he misses a critical one-on-one basically that would have given him a 3-point lead, and then you get one stop and you win the game. Instead, he misses it. Houston ends up getting the basket, and then Cooper Flagg misses the shot that would have won the game. But to your point, Adam, it was as inconceivable to me as just about anything I've watched all year in basketball that Duke could lose that lead. The way that they had controlled the game to that point, Houston at times can be challenged offensively. They got 45 points with 8 minutes to go. They scored 25 points in the last 8 minutes to win the game. So give them credit. They made big threes. They made their free throws, and they turned up the heat and forced turnovers. They took it from them, and Duke crumbled.
I like that Houston team, man. I enjoyed watching Cooper Flagg. I thought he was very interesting, but I like this Houston team. Shout out to Kelvin Sampson. And now you have a Gators versus Cougars matchup, Houston and Florida. Do you have a take in this one? Do you have somebody you're pulling for or somebody you think's going to win?
Walter Clayton Jr. is like now become my new favorite player in the country, man. What he's been doing for Florida is incredible. And it's weird. I pulled up just to get some looks of 4 or 5 different mock drafts. He's listed somewhere in the 25, 26 range, typically. One of them didn't even have him in the first round. I was kind of like, man, with what he's just done in the Elite Eight and the Final Four, if he pulls off another 30-point game on Monday night, win or lose, he plays the way he did in the last 2, I think he might have played himself up a few spots in that draft. And then the last point I just want to make about Cooper Flagg. Look, to me, even the Houston game, even though he missed a shot late and he had the controversial foul over the back that really hurt them on a missed free throw, the stuff he did in this game, 100% cemented in my mind that Cooper Flagg's going to be a star at the next level. There's no question in my mind, man. His handle, his passing, his IQ, his defense, how serious he takes it, how competitive he is, the edge he plays with. Cooper Flagg, man. And look, there's rumors he might come back. I don't know how in the world he could come back when he's a guaranteed first pick. So I can't see that happening.
It'd be insane, man. Absolutely insane. All right, James, do we have any super chats on this one tonight? Are people super chatting past midnight? Not today. Oh, yeah, we do have
quite a few for you guys today.
Oh, man, maybe we got to do this. Get more super chats. 20 piece here from Ant MJ235. Who ends up getting the 5th first team All NBA spot now? I think it'll be Ant, Mitchell, Brunson, Steph, or between Ant, Donovan Mitchell, Brunson, and Steph.
I think Mitchell's got one of those spots locked up.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're dominant in the first 2-3 months of the season, people do forget it. There's recency bias on these types of things is pretty insane. It's almost better to be great in the last 2 months than the first 4.
And that's a good point there. Look, and I think the question that he raises about Anthony Edwards is the most interesting one. If you look at it right now, Minnesota's got the longest winning streak in the NBA.
Is that right?
A 5-game winning streak. Golden State had it. They lost. So Minnesota's won 5 straight. Their record over the last 2 months is pretty damn good. He's putting up great numbers. Has he closed the gap on Donovan Mitchell, who had his huge lead because of the way that team started out and the way they played most of the year? I don't know. That's a good question, but I think some of those other spots are pretty locked up. So I think that I thought Mitchell was a lock all along. Yeah. I actually think that's a fair point to think about. Could Anthony Edwards possibly do it? But you think about Cleveland, man, and their record, it'd be very difficult to imagine Donovan Mitchell not being on the first team.
What's the next one here, James? F. Montano says, flagrant Andre legit?
No.
For you.
I hated the call. That should not have been a flagrant foul. He literally did nothing to go out of his way to move his left elbow into the face of Şengün. He went up with 2 hands on the ball to shoot a normal layup like you do in traffic. His elbow's a little bit extended, but all he did was go up and try to make a layup, and Şengün kind of turned around and whipped his face in his direction at the exact time Draymond Green was coming in. I thought it was fairly incidental. I do not think Draymond Green intended that. And what really confused me was when they went to the replay and they made the announcement on the microphone, they said that they saw wind up on the part of Draymond Green. And I didn't see that at all. So it surprised me. It was a big play because that was a 3-point play for Draymond Green because the ball went in and Şengün was in the restricted area. So it's either a block and 1 for Draymond or no basket, 2 shots for Şengün going the other way and Draymond Green's 5th foul in the 3rd quarter. And that's exactly what happened. So that's a big play in the game.
Man, what else we got? Devin Harper says, listening to Tim talk ball will never get old. Thanks for the late pod, guys. People like it, Legs. I'm telling you, they're going to make you stay up late. You should have had a horrible show tonight. You should have just really tanked it.
Listen, I am a night owl. I typically don't shut the light off till right before 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
But tomorrow's a little earlier start for me than normal. But normally, I'm usually – the last thing I do, I usually look at my phone or whatever. I'm looking at the news. At 1:45, 2 o'clock is usually my time to turn the lights out. So if we want to do this more regular, Adam, I'm cool with it.
Oh, there you go, man. Chris Dawson says, not really a question. I just really want to see seeds 3 through 8 in the West all finish with 49 wins. I would love to see the tiebreakers and how things shake out. I imagine people will start talking about this in the coming days. You never think about tiebreakers that much.
I started looking at this, and I know Denver's in this mix too, but I was really looking at the 3 teams tied, or 4 teams tied at 46 and 32, which is just fascinating to me. Denver's a half game up. They played one more game. Ooh. But man, I'm looking at the schedules of these teams, man. You got Minnesota, Memphis still to come. That's a big game. Golden State has a pretty easy schedule. They look like they got 3 guaranteed wins to me out of the 4 games they have left. So it's a decent chance that Golden State somehow figures out a way to at least get 5, potentially 4. This is crazy to me, man.
Yeah. And we got one more, I think. Is that right, James? Matthew says Giannis 71, 32, and 30 his last 2 games. I mean, it's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, yeah, he had the game. What was it? The 35-20-17 game, right? 35-17 and 22 assists.
Yeah. Trying to drag him across the finish line.
Yeah, 22 assists for Giannis. That's the part that jumped out to me, man. Listen, the guy is what he is. He's an incredible and unstoppable force in this league, man. I don't know that they have enough help without Lillard.
Yeah. All right, cue that outro music there, James. Let's all get to bed. Let's all get home.
Got another one. Couple more quick ones for you.
Oh, a couple more. Jeez. Lorenzo de Colorado says, Amen Thompson deserves to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, averages more stocks than all the candidates except for Jaren Jackson Jr., who averages 0.1 more. In the conversation?
In the conversation, yeah. His name will come up. He'll get some votes, potentially. He is, he's young, and sometimes people think, well, his turn will come. But I do think he's going to get votes, and it potentially could be a first-team All-NBA player. I don't think he'll be Defensive Player of the Year, but the guy's incredible. He really is incredible to watch defensively. He had a lot to do with what happened to Steph Curry tonight.
Yeah. As Moses and Jones in the chat says, if Jokic did that, you wouldn't shut up about it. He did, and it was just – he also did it the 2 games before that. He actually has those numbers in both of his previous 2 games. He's on a crazy run right now. What else do we have?
This last one's a layup for you guys. You can just send him back
Will
to the beginning of the show.
What do you make of the Thunder losing against LA? I like it. Let's just do the show again. Let's loop it. Let's go back. Hit that outro music.
I'll tell you what, it was an absolute mauling. I mean, they were not in the game. I mean, the Lakers took it to them, start to finish, never really let up. I waited for the Thunder run that never came, man.
All right. Cue that outro music. I got to get home. Everybody. I appreciate that you guys enjoyed this one so night. We certainly see the people in the chat tonight. So there was a lively crowd. This was a fun one, Legs. Legs is going to be off, though, for the next couple days, but he will be back at the end of the week. So, Legs, we'll miss you. No games tomorrow, really, so it's not like you're missing anything tomorrow.
You know what I'm hoping, Adam? I'm hoping by the time I come back, some of this mess in the Western Conference will be cleared up.
Nope. Only going to heat up from here, actually. That's what's so exciting for it, man. This is going to be a hell of a week. We're going to have some great shows for you. Stay locked to the channel. Tim Legler and myself 4 times a week. Everybody hit that like button. See you on the other side.
We all silly like the mayor.